Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Juneteenth in the Riv. Half the people I know forgot it was a holiday. I had people going to the post office and every other thing, and they're going, how come the post office is closed? I said,
well, everything's closed. As a matter of fact, there's no trash pickup today. So yeah, tomorrow your pickup will be 1 day later than it usually is.
So again, to all our Spindle City Straight Talk haters, we do disseminate good public information. A lot of people don't know that the trash pickup has been delayed a day too, because half of them won't even know this thing ever transpired unless they went to the post office or the bank or something like that.
Right.
So because it is Juneteenth, but I know we got something on Jazel, but let's look at this.
We also got the 911 outage yesterday. The 911 service has been restored. They don't know why it happened, but
my guess is incompetency.
Probably. But what I found interesting was I was sitting with Chip at a meeting yesterday when that notice came through, and it said to call your local number, and I rattled off a phone number that hasn't been used in decades. Decades that number hasn't been used.
Well, your mental acuity is not in question, CJ. You rattle that number out. I know that number by heart, obviously, because
so do
that was the number. Yeah, you rattle that baby off like it was yesterday, and like I said, it's been decades since that number was in use. You know?
That's right, but it's still valid to get through to the fire department dispatch.
That's when actually we had a separate dispatch. It was still it was still on Pine Street.
On Pine Street, that's right.
That was the Pine Street office.
Yeah.
When I went to 911, they switched over to the police department and consolidated them. But yeah, but they had a meeting, UIA Housing Community Action meeting, Good Shepherd Parish, and you and I have a copy of this agenda.
Yep.
It looks like the politicians wrote this agenda. I'm looking at this agenda. This is like Joe Biden's press conferences. They're all scripted. The questions are already predetermined. He's already got the answers. And if anybody deviates from the script, he goes crazy and says, you're not playing by the rules. Well, you're supposed to actually play by the rule, which is the people and the media get to question the president on anything they want to question him on. That's their job. And just like a meeting like this, it should have truly been about what the people are thinking and giving these people hard questions. But all this was a propaganda maneuver to make them completely just, they had time limits and testimonies and housing crises and data. But then what do? They don't really want any questions, and they start off with things like Schmid, our state rep, Alan Silva didn't make it, I guess. Roderick's didn't make it, but they read his name. But it was Carol, Fiola, and Schmid. Schmid, from what we were told, just gave a little speech and left.
Yep.
No questions, nothing. In other words, the hell with you people. I'm going to say I showed up. I'm going to preach you the gospel of what we're telling you, the propaganda we're telling you, and we're going to pretend because it's an election year, or we want to pretend like they do on the national level that we're doing something about it when everybody knows they're not. They had people that wanted to speak about their problems. They didn't get to speak. Schmid gave a speech and looked at his watch and said, Oh, I gotta leave, and bailed out. Then when they questioned Representative Fiola, she talks about, we've appropriated $10 million for housing, and we're really happy about that. Well, but you couldn't have any questions. Why didn't somebody ask the representative why the city of Fall River that she represents didn't take advantage of the $400 million that the state had set aside for affordable housing? Paul Coogan didn't put in for 1 penny of that money. So she's happy that they appropriated $10 million. Did she follow that by saying, I'm going to make sure that Fall River gets some of this? Because they don't want affordable housing, and that charge is led by her own husband.
That's right.
This is outrageous.
And the worst part about this is the questions that were asked to the politicians were printed on the agenda. So they weren't off the cuff questions. The other big thing is, and you were there when I heard this, so there's two of us. Carlos Caesar asked an architect for the 1616 Pleasant Street project how many affordable housing units are going to be considered in that project. He said, the mayor has said, I do not want affordable units in the building. I want to clean up that area. I guess the people in the Flint are filthy.
No, they're dirt.
They're
dirt. You got to sweep that dirt out, baby.
That's right.
We know how they feel. Kenny Fiola echoed that sentiment by saying, I got people that want to move here. Let's get all these other, let's remove the trash.
That's right.
Who are the people that Paul Coogan is supposed to represent. And remember, not the first time. He demeaned somebody because they lived in public housing. What do you want to talk about affordable housing for? You live in public housing. Well, maybe someday he wants to have an income that allows him to live somewhere else. And then to the same individual, he said, well, if you want to be part of this discussion, buy a house. That is the epitome of elitism. They don't care about the people of Fall River. People, pay attention. Pay attention. I want to clean up that area. He's saying he wants to get rid of everybody. They don't want anybody in Fall. They think they're going to make Fall River Newton, and nobody's coming down here to make it Newton. They're still trying to clean up Detroit. I just saw a thing at Detroit where they got initiating another program. Detroit has been in a toilet for decades and decades and decades because you can't gentrify places like that. You know, Fall River is always going to be a blue-collar town. People are not going to come to a place that's got an underperforming or virtually non-performing educational system, crime, but they cover up everything. This was a disgrace. The questions were predetermined, and then they lie. And they lie on top of it. Somebody asked a question about Watuppa Heights, and Paul Coogan's answer was, I'm not going to talk about that. We don't own that. Really? CJ, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, and I still do have a pretty good memory, as you do, because you still remember that number. Didn't we have a big controversy about what the wording of, and they wanted to change the wording so they could do what they wanted with that property because it was earmarked for veterans? And didn't we have a big thing that our corporation council, and they had discussions at a city council meeting about Watuppa Heights? But all of a sudden, when Paul Coogan doesn't want somebody to ask him, how many units have you actually freaking built? They've built more in Somerset, a community of 18,000 people, and we have in Fall River in your tenure. You have made it your mission not to build affordable housing with every kind of lie and misrepresentation possible. Now, all of a sudden, he's got amnesia. Paul, you got Joe Biden disease? I hope your uncle didn't get eaten by cannibals. You forgot that the Fall River and the mayor's office was involved with Watuppa Heights. But when you couldn't get your way, you've conveniently forgot. You don't want to talk about it anymore. That's the Coogan method. This was an outrage. How these people could say this was a something to give the public their say when this is prearranged. You might as well just bring Bob. He might still screw it up because he can't even read anymore. But Coogan at least can. But everything was prearranged. They regurgitated answers that were already. And Schmidt just ran out of there like his pants were on fire. Didn't want to answer a question. Fiola tries to half truth that, oh yeah, we appropriate. Yeah, you appropriated $400 million. How much did Fall River apply for and get for affordable housing? Nada, zero, zilch. This agenda is a joke. You know what this is? This is a pre-plan for political manipulation of a subject. Everybody's going to be prepared. They're going to suppress input from the people, just like they do at the press conference. They don't answer questions. Biden doesn't answer any questions that aren't predetermined. He doesn't call on anybody who aren't on his selection pool. This was another. You can tell you're in a bastion of blue. This whole meeting was a joke.
Well, I got to tell you, these are predetermined questions. So the mayor knew this question was coming. Okay? Will you commit to build affordable housing on the former Watuppa Heights? Oh, we're not going to talk about that. We don't have control of that. Will you work with the Fall River Housing Authority to create 156 Faircloth units of public housing? Faircloth was an amendment that was created to allow the creation of affordable housing in city and towns. Fall River has a cap of 156 units. Right off the bat, I think put 156 units on Watuppa Heights, because I think there was like 150 units there before. Even if they only put 150 in, guess what? It's 150 more units. Why don't they do that? Doesn't that make sense? Again, crickets.
Well, I know that was a rhetorical question, CJ.
Right.
Because we all know why there were crickets. They don't want affordable housing. Okay? They could put, as you said, 150 units on Watuppa Heights. It would be affordable. It was for veterans. That would be easily done. But listen, we all know that they lie, manipulate everything they can. They continue to press like they do. The border's closed. Well, only 5,000 or something came through in an hour. It's closed. They lie. We know what they say. He says, oh, we got more than anybody else. They count public housing, which isn't affordable housing. Look, we've explained the difference on this show 150,000 times. Public housing, workforce housing, affordable housing. We know the differences. Workforce housing has an area piece in it, which means that the income level, you have a minimum income and a maximum income to get into workforce housing. Most people in Fall River don't even have the minimum income, so they're not going to be able to get workforce housing. Public housing is for people with extremely low incomes. So the people in the middle who are now getting pushed out by these high rents, who are actually working 2 jobs and skipping meals, can't find a place to live in Fall River. But the bottom line is they don't care. Listen to what they say. No affordable units. I want to clean that place out. Well, who are they going to clean out? They're not talking about cleaning up the building, because they're going to build the buildings. They're going to rehab the buildings. They're going to build buildings. They're going to do things. They're going to make places to live. So that was directed at the human beings who live in those buildings. The people that Paul Coogan thinks are dirt. Let's clean that place out. And remember, Kenny Fiola echoed that sentiment with what he said. Listen to what they say. I got people that want to move down here. Real people. People like me. People that make a lot of money. Let's turn Fall River into the Highlands. Let's make every place in Fall River the North End. There is no room for regular people in Fall River in their minds. This is the only community, I think, in the United States that so blatantly tells people in the midst of a national housing crisis and rent crisis, go F yourself. We don't care about you. F you. You're just a piece of, you are just some gum on the bottom of our shoe. You don't count. You can't go to Italy on a vacation. You can't go to Whopper unless you got a coupon. Shut up and disappear. With that, CJ, back to you.
I was just looking at the United Interfaith Action of Southeastern Massachusetts' website. They actually put a phone number to call. And I would suggest that all our viewers call them at 774-218-2028 and ask what was the sense of the meeting if the public couldn't ask questions or make comments. That's what I would do. Now, they have one next Monday in New Bedford. Again, it's going to be probably preferenced with prepared questions for the politicians. My question is, why would you prepare the questions for the politicians? Why would you let them get away with lying? Why won't you put some of these statistics that you have on your agenda out there so they know? So they know. Okay? Like the real estate transfer tax. State legislation that allows cities and towns across the state to place a fee ranging from 0.5 to 2% on home sales over $1 million. Those funds would go into a local community's affordable trust fund. How much you want to make a bet would go into Fall River's general fund? Funds could be used in ways such as to create or preserve affordable housing, support first-time home buyers with down payments, or provide rent subsidies for low-income households. The mayor doesn't want that. That's why when that was brought up by Cliff Ponte in the city council, again, crickets, nothing. Okay? Fair cloth public housing. Fair cloth units refer to a federal law that allows housing authorities to construct additional public housing units and receive federal funding to finance them. The federal amendment was passed by Senator Faircloth, who wanted to limit any new public housing based on a cap. However, based on how the amendment was written, it enables new public housing to be built. Fall River is currently eligible to create an additional 156 units of public housing under the Faircloth Amendment. You'll notice that these people say public housing. How many times have we said this? Okay, they didn't say affordable, they said public.
No, you're right, CJ. But listen, but let's remember one thing. Paul Coogan starts everything, every time he appears anywhere, the first thing out of his mouth is, oh, let's not be negative. I want to talk about, and let me spin it in a way that I want. Because this is why these things are bull. You want to call that place and tell them, make this an open public forum, no predetermined questions. Let's get homeless people to the mic like they went down to the city council. Let's get people telling their stories. Let's let these people who are human beings that these people want to just throw out into the street appear before them and look them in the eye. And get people there who have statistics, who will challenge Carol Fiola, when she says, well, we're so happy. We've appropriated $10 million and we're happy about that. We did a good job. That's bullshit. And you know it. You're appropriating money that we will never use.
Under this administration.
That's right. We had 400 million. 400 million available. What did Fall River get? Zero. Didn't put in for a dime. Because remember what he said. I want to clean that place out. You're not talking about the buildings. They're going to clean those buildings up. They're going to rehab them. They're going to bulldoze them. They're going to build new buildings. They're going to spend a lot of money. It's not the property he's talking about. It's the inhabitants of the property. This is what you've got. When you have city councilors saying that I'm embarrassed because homeless people came to the mic. You're embarrassed for them? No, don't be embarrassed for them. They had enough courage to go to a council meeting and say their piece and say, listen, look at me. I'm a human being. I'm not something on a ledger. I'm not a liability like they call the retirees who worked for 30 and 40 years. I'm not some kind of subhuman species. These people are human. I was looking at a report this morning on national TV about New York City between the Port Authority and Penn Station. They now call it the Alley of Despair. I watched the videos of drug addicts shooting up on the streets. And you know what they do to help them? They don't create rehab. They don't do something to help them. They have a free needle dispensary to help them shoot up and stay on their habit. While we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on illegals. The people who are running the government in these states and in these cities do not care about the average American. They are destroying the middle class throughout this country, and they are obliterating Fall River. They are absolutely obliterating the average Fall Riverite because they don't care. And listen, every once in a while they say things. Remember what they say. We don't forget. You don't like it, go jump in the Taunton River. You don't like it, move out. Well, where the hell are you going to move? Where are you going to move? You're going to move to Newton?
Russia.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Somebody said go to that was Malone, wasn't it? Yeah,
yes,
go to
it was.
Russia. Malone was Russia. The other one was just get out of town. You don't like it, get out of town. You know, all these people with money don't feel it. They don't care. Nancy Pelosi let them turn San Francisco into a disaster. They do not care about what they're doing to America. That's why this upcoming election is so important. But listen to what they said. We can go on forever. Go jump in the Taunton River. You don't like it. You live in public housing, which is a grossly condescending statement to be made by a man who was elected to help everybody in this city. Go buy a house if you want to be in the discussion. What's the next thing they're going to do? Pass an ordinance that you have to meet a salary requirement for citizens' input? I mean, it won't hold up in court, but who knows what they're going to do? This administration doesn't want anybody to speak that doesn't say what they want them to say. They want to be able to just unilaterally lie, manipulate the truth, tell half-truths, and not be called on it. Paul Coogan forgot that we were talking about with Tupper Heights for quite a while. There was a big dispute over the interpretation of the language, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, it's like, I don't want to talk about that. We got nothing to do with Tupper Heights. We don't. You tried, though, didn't you, Paul? You tried to get your sticky mitts on that, too. And when you couldn't manipulate it the way you wanted for your rich friends, we're going to pretend it never happened. Keep your head down, keep your mouth shut. People will forget, but we don't forget. And with that, CJ, back to you.
We shall never forget. Never forget. That's for sure. You know, it's interesting because they actually, now this is supposed to be a non-political unit. You know what I mean? Which is bullshit. They provided the names and phone numbers for the state representatives and the senator and Mayor Paul Coogan. They didn't give him a direct line. They gave the line to the office, which, you know, gets answered by the chief of staff. But here's the letter or email they want you to send. Greetings, Senator Rodrigues. I, from your district in Fall River, am contacting you to support the real estate transfer tax. I don't support it. I'll never support it. I don't support new taxes. For any reason. For any reason. And this won't benefit Fall River because they don't have an affordable housing trust fund. No affordable housing trust fund. Cliff Ponte brought it up, but there were crickets. Crickets. Click, 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 crickets. We need more than that.
No, CJ, you're right. You look at this and they bold-faced public housing, public. Every housing is public.
Yeah.
Because who lives in people? You know, people, the public. People from the public. But it's what segment of the public live in the housing. You know, they've got all these fancy laws and all these regulations and criterias that they set up to make things exclusionary for certain groups intentionally. And some of it is not bad because it's made for, you know, public housing is a good thing for people with extremely low income. It allows them, you know, a place to live. Workforce housing is a good thing for that segment of the population that has the income levels in that area within reach of that particular housing.
Right.
But the problem is that we all know that, but the politicians manipulate that and they try to make this into one big giant basket. It's all the same. It isn't. The problem is nationwide because workforce housing, public housing eliminates the people who need it the most. The working class who does not. I'm like reading this. Yeah, we need to hold them all accountable because they refuse to define, they refuse to acknowledge what affordable housing means. And it means a different category in different parts of the country based on economy. But you're in a place like
You went quiet, Chip. I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but you went quiet. You're kind of frozen. Let's see what happens. There you are. You're back,
okay.
Chip.
Okay. You know, we have, you know, it's different in every section because it depends on the income. But what it means is there are people in every part of this country, because it's a nationwide issue, who work in two jobs. Sometimes two people work in two jobs, who have to still skip a meal. They said 40% of the people in this country are now skipping a meal so they can afford to live. These people make too little to get into workforce housing, too much to get into public housing, and they're stuck in the middle. What are they going to do? They can't do anything. You raise their rent to $2,000 a month, and the median gross income in Fall River is $30,000. They got $6,000. That's on their gross pay, which is a lot less after taxes and expenses to live on, which is like, do the math. Leaves you $500 a month to eat, pay all your bills, pay your electricity, pay your gas, pay. That's impossible. It's impossible. Other places are doing things like this. How can a town like Somerset with 18,000 people build more units than we have in Fall River when we have over 90,000 people? But they, the thing is, see, they don't even try to explain it because they say we'll ignore it because, nobody's going to make a big enough stink. Let's make a stink at the polls because they just ignore it. They don't even deal with it. We don't want it. We've gone on record. We've said it behind closed doors. We want to clean these people out. And we're just going to just keep going on our way. We're going to have our state reps say, oh, we've appropriated $10 million. That's a good thing. Everybody clap. Even though I know Fall River's never going to put in for a dime of that. They're never going to try to get any money because they had $400,000 to put in for. He's already said on one of the newest upcoming projects, I don't want anything in there. Viola said it in front of a camera. We're not interested in affordable housing. So you know what they're saying to you? F you. F you. We don't care. You don't mean anything. You are just subhuman aliens that live in the city. But we'll stick people from Guatemala somewhere and pay their rent, pay their health care, pay everything. But we don't give a shit about the people in Fall River. So pay attention. Be pissed off. Call all these reps and tell them. I want you to tell me what affordable housing is. And until you can make that definition, I will make sure everybody I know never gives you another vote for the rest of your natural life.
But that's the problem. That's why they can say that. That's why they can say we're going to clean up the area. We're going to get rid of it. Why? Because you don't matter, because you don't vote. And they know it. They know it. They know who votes. You think the mayor's not looking at the voting record after the election, who came out and voted? It's there. That information's public. And if your name's not there, go away. I don't want to hear from you. Go away. You need a pothole fix. You didn't vote. You didn't vote for me, so I don't care. You need your trash picked up and they forgot it? Tough luck. That's what happens when you don't vote. You don't matter. And until you start to vote and make your voice heard, you won't matter. You just will not matter.
And CJ, you just encapsulated the whole thing. That's true. You say to yourself, they don't care about me. I don't matter. But the reality is you can make yourself matter, because the 40,000 people who didn't vote, who allowed, like you said, they look at the voting roll and they go, oh, yeah, that's one of my rich friends. That's another one of my rich friends. Oh, here's one I gave a job to. Oh, I gave his cousin a job. Oh, I gave his brother a job. Oh, yeah, I got enough of these bums that I made rich or gave a job to get me in, because we've only got a small percentage of people voting in every election. And the people who complain and are now saying there's nothing we can do, realize, united we stand, divided we fall. When you think of yourself as just you, but when everybody gets together and goes to the polls, you can change things. We got the first successful recall in the history of the state. Why? We got more people in that election than they've had in the last 3. And the problem is, and it wasn't enough then, but we didn't have the resources or anything. It was in the middle of December. But 40,000 people. All we needed was another 5,000 people to come out, and Paul Coogan would not be mayor. And that's not a lot. That's not even, that's an insignificant
10%.
part of the 40,000. So,
10%.
10%, 4,000 people. So you do matter, but only if you are enough to realize that you have to go to the polls. We shouldn't have to tell you this. But the thing is that when people get pissed off enough, there's change. Look at Europe. They wiped out all the liberals in Europe. Nobody would have ever believed that. France, He threw the towel in. Mitterrand said, "Oh, you guys, you killed me. I got nobody left in my party. You guys do what you want." Germany, Italy, they're sick and tired of them worrying about the rich people getting richer, electric buses, the Green New Deal, trying to regulate how you live your life while they get rich and you get poorer. And they voted. The people in Europe finally got, what's one thing you got to say about Europe? Sometimes it takes them a long time. It took them a couple of 100 years to get the French Revolution going. It took them even longer than that to get the Russian Revolution. But every once in a while, they get pissed off in Europe and they do revolt. And this time they revolt the whole of Europe fundamentally. They obliterated these people who don't care about anything except their own agendas, and they try to distract you with this other label shit, canceling stuff. Actually, I saw something that was horrifying. I watched an interview in a mayoral debate, and the sitting mayor asked some of the other candidates, can you name me 3 people on your staff who are from the LGBTQ+ plus movement? Can you name me 3 drag queens? That's what you get elected for? Look I don't care if you're part of that community, if you're a drag queen. If you get hired for a job, you should be able to do the job. That should not be this crap about you've got to have somebody with labels on it. No, you got to have somebody you're hiring to do a job. I don't care who my plumber is. I don't care what his sexual orientation is. If he likes to wear women's underwear or vice versa, I don't care. You can fix my toilet, good. But these people, they just divert your attention and then they cancel you. Oh, if you can't name 3 drag queens, you don't deserve to be mayor. Well, maybe I don't give a shit. I'm just going to look at whether these people can do the job. That's what's missing in these states. And you can look it up who it was, but you'll know who it was. I'll give you a pretty wild guess. It's in a pretty blue area. So do the research on that one. But that actually happened at a debate, the mayoral debate. Imagine at a mayoral debate being asked if you can name 3 drag queens.
Joanne, Barbara, and Cynthia. There you go. I don't know who they are. I picked those names out of the sky, but you never know. It's just amazing how the woke communities are exercising authority.
Yeah.
Authority. Yet the average American worker can't exercise their authority. And all they have to do is go out and vote. They've come out, the woke people have come out and crucified Trump. Crucified him. They call him everything under the sun. But they don't look at what he did. They don't look at the positive things he did. They don't look at the changes he made. They don't look at the fact that the economy was much better. Although Joe Biden's saying, "Oh, the economy's great. We got the best workforce. We got the best economy." Well, the people don't feel it, Joe. The people don't feel it. And until they feel it, it's not real to them.
But again, they lied because he lied again because the workforce has increased. They've given 600,000 illegals and migrants, so they call them. They're the ones who are getting these low-wage jobs.
That's right.
Our workforce of Americans has been reduced by over 400,000 workers have lost their jobs. So right. They lie about everything. But to get back to the wokies, you see, they use that what Nietzsche talked about, the herd mentality. Most of the people
right.
are in the herd. And the higher humans use the slave class to intimidate these people. You see, they talk about these woke things about if you don't get the right pronoun, we're going to cancel you. We're going to ruin your life. And you just got to say, I don't care. Do whatever you want because you're irrelevant to me. We've got to get back to a real simple thing. They're trying to label everybody, but you can't label them. If you attack them, then they're going to, well, you can cancel me. We've been canceled before by better people than them. So we don't care. You can cancel us all you want. You're not paying my bills. You didn't pay for my breakfast this morning, and I don't care. Cancel me all you want. As far as I'm concerned, you've been canceled since you were born in my life. But the reality is they worry about crap like this because we got to get back to a real simple thing from two people who really understood it, that until we get away from this stuff, we're never going to be good. Remember what Martin Luther King said: judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. It doesn't matter. The content of their character. I don't care if you're in any of these other groups. If you're of good character and you can do the job. And then the second one is Malcolm X. I always use that quote. I love that quote. He said, I am for the truth, no matter who tells it.
That's right.
And for justice, no matter who it's for. And think about that quote. The wokies are just the opposite. There is no truth except their truth. But Malcolm X learned when he went there and said, wow, I was wrong all these years. I was condemning all the white people, and I went to Mecca, and I saw blonde-haired, blue-eyed Muslims worshiping with me. It had nothing to do with skin color. It's got to do with that. And he came back, and then they assassinated him for his trouble, but he did get that statement out that he was for the truth. But isn't it ironic that this is exactly the opposite of the woke movement? He's for the truth, no matter who tells it. They're for the truth, only their truth. Even if it's not the truth, you got to believe what they say, and they're not going to judge anybody by the content of their character, only by the amount of wokeness they have in their body. And then the second part, I'm for justice no matter who it's for. They're for injustice. Everybody on their side gets acquitted of everything, and all the other people get prosecuted for BS. They throw an 80-year-old woman in jail for praying in front of an abortion clinic. They throw her in jail. 80-year-old women for praying, but they caused hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damage in Seattle. Nobody got arrested. Nobody got prosecuted. So they're so full of shit, they're halfway back again. And, if you listen to this is why we're in the condition we're in this country. We got these box checkers in charge instead of saying there's only one way you check how your government is working. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? The answer to that is a hell no. And in this city, are you better off now than when Paul Coogan took office and promised you tax decreases and I'm going to stabilize the city? No, we got a lot bigger budget. We're spending a lot more money. You're broke. Everybody's broke. And the only people that can change it is you.
And now our state legislature wants to add another tax on your home. There you go. That's just what we need. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Try to stay cool and hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Thanks for watching.